That's when the guys tell me, like, that's what people want to hear, man. They don't want to hear this, everything was just great. And that's, we went through stuff with 4D. Like, there were some very lean times losing money and like, should we keep doing this? I've dealt with people like, oh, that like you didn't make it. That in my head and all the stuff. And they're like, whoa, you're, even now, like you go back to Tulane, and they're like, whoa, you Hall of Fame and did all these other, like, I still feel like I didn't do good enough. So I was born and raised in a small town called West Monroe, Louisiana. It's much bigger now than it was then, but all I really knew growing up was sports and just being outside. I mean, up there isn't a whole lot more to do except ride your bike, play football, play sports, go around with kids in the neighborhood and just, enjoy being outside in the great outdoors. I think baseball was clearly what I wanted to do, and I wanted to pitch. So being a left-handed pitcher, my dad knew that was a big avenue and a big angle of separating yourself and being less the norm, so to speak. There's always a voice inside, like I felt like I belonged on the mound. It just felt like home. I didn't even pitch varsity my junior year at West Monroe. I feel I was good enough, but I just didn't have the opportunity. So talk about thinking you want to go to college and you're a JV pitcher your junior year. So that was like real humbling and just made me work harder. That senior year, that's where I really pushed myself in the weight room and all that. That senior summer, I really turned, I turned 18, but I turned into like little Jason into like Jason. So I went from like 205 pounds to 230 pounds. All of a sudden I was, 6'4", 230, and people are like, I just know looking at pictures like I grew up. I think playing baseball on the mound, I'd always loved it more, but I'd grown to football, like this hitting people and the competitiveness and all the crowd and all that stuff. When I was in pads, I didn't miss baseball that much. We ended up doing the thing, man. Like we went through and started winning games. Next thing you know, we got to the playoffs. I started getting some phone calls. We ended up winning, went to the Dome, won the whole thing. We beat Destrehan in the Dome, who had Ed Reed on their team. Like, we didn't even know, like we were just, I'd say probably the most underrated team that won the championship out of West Monroe's history, but we were the first to do it. I knew even with all that and everything that was going and offers coming in, like Ole Miss and LSU, I knew I still wanted to play baseball. So my mom was there. I can't remember what time it was at night. I get a phone call in my house. My coaches told me that they're starting to look at me as a tight end. I had some touchdown catches. I had speed. I had size. I had the grades. So it was Jerry DiNardo with LSU. Called me up on the phone, just in the living room, like, hey, coach. And he goes, hey, son, you're one of our top tight ends in the state, and we're looking interested and want to know if you want to come down for a visit, but I'd like to offer you a scholarship. And I just flat out asked him if I'd be able to play baseball. And he said, no, son, sorry, this is a football scholarship. I can't do that. And I just said, I'm sorry, coach, I just can't commit totally to football right now. I believe I should be on the mound too. I can't give up baseball right now. Thanks, son, appreciate it. I hung up the phone. My mom's looking at me like horrified. I got no other offers. I had no baseball offers, no baseball at all offers. She's like, what are you doing? And I just said, it'll work out. So the Ole Misses and LSUs, they were like, you have to play football or not. And so then I looked at the next tier, and Tulane was one of them, and UL Lafayette and Mississippi State. Tulane just made sense. I had good grades, good ACT scores, and I just thought, hey, if I can make it and I can play both, they were open on that. I get a good degree either way. I remember walking out around January before practice for baseball. And I just sat out in the left field line, and I just looked at the field. Nobody was out there, and I just thank God that I was having the opportunity. I really was. I'd missed it so much. So I just told God, I said, if you give me an opportunity this year, if you give me an opportunity, I'm gonna make the best of it. Then I get drafted by the Cardinals. That was that 98 year when McGwire and Sosa went and did their thing. So the Cardinal spring training camp, it was like crazy. You had McGwire, you had Renteria, you had Jim Edmonds, you had all these big name dudes. You're like, whoa. So it was cool to be hanging around them. And I did have a couple of spring training games and playing with them, and it's just cool. You're in the locker room with the guys, man, the guys that are on TV. I mean, I grew up watching Mark McGwire with the Oakland A's, and I'm sitting in the same clubhouse with them, lifting weights and all that stuff. So it was really cool. I think sometimes I had this, people, oh, you didn't make it, and I'm sitting there going, man, I got to spend 9 years playing a game I love, traveling around this country with 24 other guys that had the exact same dream and love of the game, and just young and just happy and just ready to be out there. So I mean, all that time and experience, you can't trade it, and I think I didn't make it like I made it. I'd tell all that every other minor league guy that didn't make the big leagues, and that was your dream to do, and you put so much work in, like, you made it, man. You're the 0.1% of everybody that picks up a baseball. But I think at that age you shift, and really, like, the dream turns into having the dream of a family. 4D came along because I knew health and wellness. I'd always knew I was going to work out. I know how important it is for us to be healthy. I was taking all these supplements my whole career. I knew what worked. I knew what was clean, what could be allowed in sport, and I also knew what was hype and what didn't really work, because I paid money for it and didn't do anything for me. So over that whole time, I was just sitting there going, well, I know this stuff because I've been doing this for 15, 20 years. So what is the product supposed to do? Well, it's supposed to cover the 4 dimensions of health and wellness: mind, muscle, joints, and skin. 4D is really our 4 dimensions of our body, and that was kind of it. Like, that's why I do like that people have to ask, though. I like a name, like, what does that mean? So a lot of people think it's the next dimension of training. We can go there, but now what? Now you got to sell it. So it turned into me hustling, really going organic, putting stuff in my car, driving around to gyms, convenience stores, Smoothie Kings, started getting some traction there. I give the credit to my wife, because after 2012 and even into 2013, we still needed something bigger. She ended up saying, hey, we've talked to Sam's Club, and I've seen those people in the store doing demos and stuff. Maybe we can call them. So she ended up calling the headquarters. The head buyer, Denise, was funny enough, like, I'm gonna be in the Kenner Sam's Club next week. So we ended up meeting her. I gave her my pitch in the cafe. She goes, yeah, I like it. You're the first person to ever come to me that has an all-in-one supplement. Like, if you didn't had a supplement line, I'd have said, we already have all that, but we don't have something like you. So we'll give it a shot. Next thing you know, 17, we got more Texas stores. 2018, we got more Texas stores. I started building more sales reps. 2019, we got to a critical mass, which was great. And then right at February 5th, 2020 is when the buyer said, hey man, y'all have been doing great. You're beating your competitors, and we're about to take you nationwide. And then COVID hit. Baseball, sports, all of it teaches you, it teaches you wins and losses. It teaches you to be tough, to persevere, for the endurance of the long haul. And I spent 10 years in the minor leagues. People are like, you're crazy. Why did I do that? For me, like, why did I do that so long? And I think perseverance with 4D is the reason. If we hadn't stuck to it in those, like, tough years, 2016, 2017, we weren't sure if we should still be doing this, and we just pushed through. That has gotten us to a place where we are. Like, if we can make someone's life better on a day-to-day basis, if you drink one of our packs and you go out and walk more, you go out and exercise more, that's our never stop moving is our motto. And I think I'm 49 years old, about to be 50. I don't see a verse in the Bible that talks about retirement. So if there's anything we say is like, hey, we want to live long, successful, healthy lives, exercise is a big part of that. We're preaching that. That's what we want. I want it to be simpler for people to feel good every day. So that's the baseline. But to feel good every day, you got to get out and you got to move and you got to do what's right for your body. So I guess at the heart of it, our goal is to make anyone who uses our product feel their best every day. The future of it is growing more. I love the Team 4D, the NIL athletes that we have. I can see that team growing year after year and just bringing on more college athletes who are doing great things and doing it the right way. Put yourself out there, work a little harder. And I even go back to some of it, like Moses walked for 40 years until his final days, and he didn't retire. He just kept on doing that. So never stop moving comes back to some of those principles of just we're gonna sleep someday forever. Right? But when we're here, do what you can and never stop, really.